Hey folks, Ian Ward here from Les Jardins Glenelm. I'm just going to take a couple minutes today to explain why we're moving away from the bio-intensive system that we started our farm on to a more bio-extensive system that uses a lot more space but is a lot more efficient from a labor and efficiency standpoint and gets equivalent or better yields and is equivalent or better from an ecological standpoint. That's what we've recently discovered. So here we've got a 6-foot bed. Now remember, on the bio-intensive system is 30-inch beds, which is nice. You can walk over the rows really easily. It facilitates hand work. But we want to reduce hand work if possible. We want to do things as efficiently as we can. Hand work is not efficient. It requires a lot of labor. We can't always get enough people to work on the farms, and this year we had one of our employees leave, and we're a very small farm, so we ended up with basically a third of our workforce missing. And what we have here is a 4-row bed of beets. Now we do 4 rows at home at Glenelm on a 30-inch bed, so you would think that we'd get as much or more yield on the other system, on the 30-inch bed system, but in reality, we've planted this one too densely because we have weeds and we can't get in to weed them. So this is a wheel hoe here. It's a pretty nifty tool made by Terratec in France. We've got knives at the front, finger weeders in the back, and the crop, like this milkweed, goes right through the middle, and it does a pretty efficient job. It's much better than using a hand hoe, but with 4 rows on here, we're about a week late and we're crushing the leaves by rolling on them, so we're blocked out. We don't have any choice. If we want to weed this bed and get the optimum yields out of this bed, we got to go back to hand weeding, hoe weeding, the collinear hoe, or something else similar to that. Going to be a lot of work. It's going to take a few hours if we want to get optimum yields out of this bed. If we were on 3 rows to a bed, we'd be able to use this guy, the Tillmore Power Ox, which we recently picked up. So it's a similar system, a similar setup to the wheel hoe. We've got knives at the front, fingers in the back, but here we've got a bed of young carrots. These are our fall carrots. We're going to do our first weeding on these guys, and we're going to have space to go in with this tool, which will allow us to do 90% of the weeding mechanically without having to go in with hose. So that means our yields are going to be really good. Now, the people who rented us this field a few years back, they get better yields than we do on 3 rows than we do on 5 rows or more because of that weeding efficiency, because they don't get into situations like I did with the beets here, where we're not able to get in and weed properly, because in reality, we're only going to do a partial job on that. We don't have time to spend 4 hours weeding that. It's not worth it for us. We're still going to get some yields out of that bed, just not optimal yields. Whereas if we had a better mechanized system like this, we would be getting optimal yields out of that with much less work. Now, from an ecological standpoint, small bio-intensive farms use a lot of compost and other inputs that have to be created elsewhere. If they're doing bio-intensive, it's generally because they don't have the space to do a different kind of system, so they're not able to do as much cover cropping as we are here. Here we farm 1 acre, and we've got 4 acres in cover crop. And cover crops like red clover and vetch and sweet clover and alfalfa that work over a couple of years, that we can leave in for 2 years. They're practically perennials or biennials that do wonders for the soil. They're bringing inputs back in, they're bringing nitrogen back in, and they're really stimulating the microorganisms in the soil. And so we're doing 2 years on, 2 years in an extensive cultivation system, and then 2 years in a cover crop system. So that is the only issue with this type of system that I see, is that there's a lot of bare soil here, which I don't like so much. But because these beds have had 2 years of cover crops in them, it's quite possible that this is actually a better system from an environmental standpoint than a bio-intensive standpoint, bio-intensive system that requires so many external inputs. So just to finish up, I'm going to show you how this guy works.